now we have the beginning of a list-based app. It looks nothing like our usual list-based apps. Before we move on and actually make this into a list, I want to show you the other navigation type. So you see here the navigation stack, okay, and the navigation link that lets you go from one screen to another. What I want to show you now is I would like to show you the modal sheet. All right, so for this, what I'm going to do is I am going to go down here. I'm going to make a button. And this button is going to be, well, you know what, show credits. Okay, so this button says show credits. And I'm just going to give this a button style. So to make it stand out a little bit, button style of dot bordered prominence, I believe. Okay, and I'm going to push it to the bottom of the screen using a spacer. Okay, and let's put a spacer at the top as well to keep this in the middle. Okay, we actually are going to get rid of the spacers afterwards, but this is just to make it easier for us to see what's going on. Okay, so this thing over here is going to be something that's just going to show the credits, like who made this app? Well, me, I made this app. It's awesome, and I want to tell everyone about it. Okay, now, the thing about modal sheets is that the way you do it in SwiftUI is not when you press the button, pull up a sheet that displays all this stuff. Okay, there's a very subtle difference. The way it works in SwiftUI is when you press this button, we flip a switch that pulls up a sheet that has already been prepared. Okay, so it's a very subtle difference. It's not, I press this button and therefore you go and do all these things right now. It's, I press this button and you just go and flip a switch and the thing that is already prepared will show up on screen. So let's go prepare that thing first. Okay, first we need a new state variable. This is the switch, as it were. I'm just going to have a new state variable that says show sheet, and I'm going to set it to be false. Okay, so this is the switch. Initially, it's false. All right, so down here, I'm going to type sheet, and I'm going to use the one that says is presented. So if you want to autocomplete, you can use this one. Okay, but I'm just going to type it out. Is presented, colon, $, show sheet. So you're going to need a $sign in front of show sheet. And the idea here is that if you put a $sign in front of this variable, this sheet will be able to flip the switch off when the user dismisses it. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to put a text inside here. And this text is made by YJ Soon. All right, I think that's good enough for now. And now we have a sheet that's ready to go. Okay, and now we want to press this button to make it show up. The way you make it show up is by setting show sheet equals to true. Okay, so the button flips the switch, and when the switch is flipped, what happens is that the sheet will show up. So tap on this, and there you go. Okay, the entire sheet shows up, and this is a brand new screen for the user. How does the user get away from this? They can just swipe down. Okay, you can just swipe down somewhere near the top of the screen, and it should be able to exit. Later on, I'll show you how to make an exit button. Okay, so there you go, right? You tap on it, it shows up. And when you swipe it down, what happens is that, I'm trying very hard to swipe it down. I think you can swipe it down from somewhere near the gray colored portion. Okay, when you swipe it down, what happens is that show sheet gets flipped back to false. All right, that's the purpose of the $sign. It's called a binding. It's kind of saying, hey, sheet over here, I'm going to give you this thing and I'm going to set it to true. But when the user dismisses the sheet, I'd like you to set it back to false. Okay, so this is all well and good, but this code is going to get really long. Right now, we have different pages that are all in the same file. Okay, so you can see over here, this is actually a brand new page. Okay, this page doesn't show up unless you tap on this. Okay, and you can imagine that all of these are not going to be limited to a single line of text. They're going to have their own pictures and VStacks and text and all kinds of different things. So I think it makes sense for us to move those into separate files. Let's go make a new file for the credits sheet. Okay, so I'm just going to tap on this sidebar over here and press plus, new Swift file. And this is going to let you rename it. It's a bit hard to see on my screen, but there are all these little arrows over here that you can pull the selection handles on. I'm just going to rename this to credits view. Okay. If you missed out that part and it no longer has the selection handles, you can just tap and hold and choose rename. Okay. So now what we want to do over here in credits view is we want to spend our time designing credits view inside here, and then we summon it from content view. Okay, so if you've ever done the Get Started with Apps tutorial in Swift Playgrounds, you would have seen an example of this. This is called composing different views together. Okay, so I'm going to go to credits view and I'm going to pull up the preview and I'm going to just use a template to get the view struct. So I'm going to type capital VIEW. Notice that autocomplete pops up, press enter. And what it does is it will create a struct view for you. And this is what SwiftUI needs in order to put something on screen. Okay, so if you look at the right-hand side, now there's a new tab over here that lets you preview just this view as you are designing it. This is a placeholder, so I'm going to change this to credits view. Nice thing is that this preview down here also changes, so just press enter when you're done. And over here, just put in a text that says made by YJ Soon. You don't have to say made by YJ Soon. And I'm going to use a VStack over here to maybe, like decorate this a little bit. So I'm going to do a VStack, and this is going to be .font, .large title. And I'm going to maybe put a little icon. So remember SF symbols, tap on this. I'm going to choose a nice little icon for myself, maybe a pencil or something. Made by, right? Okay, so there you go. Make a nice pencil over here, and I'm going to change this to a large font size. .font, .system, size, let's say 80. Okay, so if I tap on credits view, it's going to show me made by YJ Soon. Okay, you can do all kinds of things. You can add the background color if you'd like. Let me show you that real quick as well. If you want to add a background color to the entire view, the best way is to add a Z stack. Okay, a Z stack will go behind everything. So Z stack, delete away the closing curly brace, go down to below the end of the V stack and type close curly brace. Now, up here, you can now type perhaps color.yellow or something like that. Okay, so this is a very loud credits view. What we're going to do is we're going to replace the contents of the sheet over here. Instead of just say text, it's going to now be all of my credits view. Remember to put open and closing bracket after the name of the view. Okay, so now if I want to see my credits, I can just tap on this and there we go, right? There's these credits on screen. Okay, one last thing I want to show you is how to let the user dismiss a sheet. Okay, without having to tap outside, like just move your cursor right outside. Oh, it crashed. All right, so I don't think that's because of anything that we did, right? Let's just press refresh and hope that it goes away. I'm going to just show you my code and hope that the problem resolves itself. If your code crashes like this, one thing you can do is you can exit your current playground and reopen it, and there's a good chance that it will work afterwards. Okay, but let me just check real quick to see if there's any good reason why it should crash. I don't think so, right? Just based on my understanding of the code that we've written, nothing seems awfully wrong. So let me just exit and just reopen it and hope that it resolves the issue by itself, because this forces Swift Playgrounds to reload all the code. Okay, so I'm going to go to credits view and I want to make a button that dismisses the credits view. Okay, so the way we do that is very interesting. You don't declare a state variable, you declare something called an environment variable. Okay, type at environment, capital E, open bracket, /.dismiss, var dismiss. Okay, so just type this thing over here, environment /.dismiss var dismiss, and down here in your VStack, now you can actually go create a button that calls this dismiss function. This is actually a function that will dismiss this current screen. So I'm going to say button dismiss, open curly brace, dismiss, open bracket, close bracket, and I'm going to give it a certain button style. Let's say bordered prominent again, and I think I'll give it some padding so that it's a certain distance away. Okay, so a few things we added. We added this line over here, and we added these lines over here. in order to have a button that will dismiss the current screen. If you tap it here, it'll do nothing because right now you're just previewing it on its own. But if you go back to the app preview and you tap on show credits at the bottom of the screen, it will let you tap on dismiss to get the sheet out of the way. Okay, so what's going on here? This is a special function that lives in the environment. Okay, so it's somewhere in iOS that says, hey, if you're trapped in a view, you want to get out of there, okay, you can use this dismiss button. The way you get to it is by using this special incantation, environment/.dismiss, and then you can give your function a name. For clarity, I call it dismiss. You can call it anything you want. You can call it go away. Okay, if you call this go away, then you also need to name this go away. All right, but there's no real reason to, confuse anyone. Most people just use dismiss as the function name.